A direct sequel to 2000's Gladiator. This is directed and produced by Ridley Scott, of course, written by David Scarpa, a frequent Ridley Scott collaborator who wrote Napoleon last year, even though we recently found out that PTA came in and did punch-ups because Joaquin was throwing a Joaquin fit. The DP here was John Matheson, also a frequent Ridley Scott collaborator. They started together on the first Gladiator. So the same DP from Gladiator 1 did Gladiator 2.
Awesome.
I love
didn't
that.
know that.
I
That's
love
sick.
that. The movie stars Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, Fred Heckinger, Connie Nielsen, and of course, Denzel Washington. It was produced by Scott's company, Scott Free, and distributed by Paramount. Joe, can I go first on this one?
Absolutely.
I saw Gladiator 2 last night, and I really freaking enjoyed it. I had a great time at the movies.
There you go.
And first and foremost, I want to say I was overjoyed, and I've already alluded to this a little bit. I was overjoyed that in the year 2024, Ridley Scott got Paramount to pay $250 million for an old school sword and sandal movie. Oh my God. Because Gladiator 2 reminded me way more of the sword and sandal movies of the 50s and 60s when the genre was at its peak. We're talking your Ben-Hur, your Spartacus, your Quo Vadis, your The Robe. And by sword and sandal, I'm talking about movies that are set in sort of Greco-Roman antiquity, and there's sword fights and Roman gladiators, and there's early days of Christianity stuff going on. You know the genre. You know it when you see it. But whereas I thought the whole point of the first Gladiator in 2000 was to kind of like update and like transcend the sword and sandal genre. It was all about turning sword and sandal into this, like giving it this like
elevated,
this muscular action movie makeover, and making it like cool for the new generation. You know, this ain't your mama's sword and sandal movie. That was the vibe of when the first Gladiator came out.
Nailed it.
And it was a rusty old genre, so it probably needed that kind of like oomph, that adrenaline burst, and then that kind of leads into 300, or paves the way for 300 in 2006, which was trying to do something similar to give the sword and sandal genre like a comic book kind of a violent comic book makeover. But other than that, the genre really hasn't produced anything of note this century besides those two movies. I mean, it's been known more for its duds than its hits. You know, Alexander is a famous example of that. I mean, Troy did so-so, but didn't set the world on fire. Same with the Clash of the Titans remake. Exodus, Gods and Kings, anybody, right? This isn't like but of course, because this isn't a like genre that that screams sort of like relevance and 21st century issues and concerns and so forth. But that's why I loved Gladiator 2, because it was like shockingly relaxed for this, like a sequel to the first Gladiator, this massive movie. It has this massive budget. The movie was just sort of relaxed and didn't like, even though you get these little fan service moments here and there, like the big one is like Paul Mescal putting on Russell Crowe's like armor or whatever. The movie didn't have the anxiety of influence thing going on, where like you could tell that it was stressing about its like legacy in the first one. It was just very relaxed, being a more classic throwback sword and sandal movie. I thought it had all that great like palace intrigue going on. It did have some killer sword fights. It was like a little cheesier than the first one, which I really liked. It just sort of like, it just wasn't as like, I don't know, it wasn't stressing about being like a prestige movie. It was like really relaxed and comfortable in what it was doing, and I liked that a lot. And I liked just getting a more classic throwback sword and sandal movie, and not this thing where it's like, we're gonna reinvent the genre and update it for the kids, and like it had none of that. It was like pure
do it again.
Palace intrigue. Togas, sandals, sword fights, really corny speeches. Like I really liked it. I had a lot of fun. And so it was a lot like Wicked, to be honest, where it's like, man, nothing like a movie that kind of knows itself and is not trying to like punch above its weight and is just like kind of nailing a genre, like just really relaxed nailing a genre.
This confidence you're speaking to, or this sort of like non-stressed outness, this sort of mellow tone, or this sort of just like, it's because Ridley Scott's made 1 million movies. And he doesn't give a shit about historical accuracy, famously.
Love it.
And he doesn't give a shit about anything other than telling a ripping good yarn.
As soon as I saw The Great Whites,
he doesn't give a fuck about you. So his movies are really watchable.
Yeah, as soon as I saw The Great Whites, I was like, it's not historical. Like why were you?
I love that part, dude.
Like the historians were trying to come to for this movie because it's not historically accurate. It's like
find a new slant.
It's like boldly historically inaccurate. It's
find
like
a new, stop with this genre of like analysis where you tell us why this couldn't happen. What'd you think of the movie, asshole?
Now let's go through the performances because I think number one, Denzel is fantastic.
Denzel's awesome.
It's the performance we were promised.
He just does Denzel in a toga, and it is heaven on earth.
Literally in the last half of the movie, just watching his eyes.
I love him.
It's like a movie within the movie. Like just watching. Like Denzel looks at this guy for 10 seconds and then looks at this guy for 2 seconds and back at this guy for 10 seconds, and it's like that's a whole fucking story there. Just who Denzel is looking at and how he's looking at them.
So fun. And he fit in like a glove. He didn't he stood out because he was the best, but he didn't steal show. No. He was in and of the movie. He was awesome.
And people have been referring to this as a vintage Denzel performance. I actually think it's kind of a singular Denzel performance and kind of a unique one in some specific ways, which I liked, which is that to me, the classic Denzel thing is that he stands up to authority, boldly and openly stands up to authority. He doesn't kiss the ring. He doesn't lick the boot. He is a bold, courageous, sort of anti-authoritarian character that's heroic. And even when he's a villain in Training Day, he's out in the street saying, King Khan ain't got shit on me. Denzel characters, for good or for bad, are usually characterized by their sort of self-possessed boldness in the face of whatever their antagonist is. Whereas in Gladiator, we get sneaky Denzel. We get says one thing to your face and then stabs you in the back the second you turn around. We get Littlefinger Denzel. We get palace intrigue Denzel. That is a little bit of a twist on the Denzel formula, and he
it is.
Again, talk about being relaxed and not worried. He is giving this performance gleefully. Yeah. There's no sort of but what will this do to my brand thing? Denzel could give a shit about that, right? The brand is strong and stronger than ever now, because he is killing it in this little sort of twist on what we think of with Denzel, and I love it.
Yeah, I think that people
more of this.
I think it kind of reminds people of some classic Denzel performances, just in the fact that the character is just the bluster, the confidence, the swagger,
right?
Everything has all that.
A lot of the affects, a lot of the intonations is classic Denzel. But I think the character itself is not. I was trying to go back in the filmography. You don't really get a sneaky guy.
He's always in charge.
Right. Yeah. He's always says it to your face, not behind your back. But here we get sneaky Denzel. I love it. I love it. I also want to give a shout out to Paul Mescal. I'm kind of surprised. Right now, I know there was initial buzz around the performance, sort of little Oscar buzz. Now we seem to be in a little bit of a backlash. People are saying it's sort of a boring, dull performance.
I disagree.
I liked it a lot.
Me too.
I liked it a lot. And this is a guy that I've, famously been skeptical of, just because I thought
the shorts.
I just thought all the tabloid stuff was outpacing the body of work. I love the tabloid stuff. I like it to keep pace with the body of work, so we don't get the hype train going off the tracks. I'm trying to protect you, Paul Mescal.
Right.
I'm trying to protect you. Here, though, we got what I think is his strongest performance that I've seen. I liked him in that movie with Andrew Scott last year, was in The Comfort of Strangers, and he's doing a similar thing in both these movies I like a lot, where you get, in interviews and stuff, you get cute baby girl, bashful Paul Mescal with his shorts, and he's all, oh geez, oh shucks kind of thing. I've honestly never seen an actor who is like that in real life, who can so completely evaporate those instincts from their body when they are acting, because he is hard and soulless and angry in this movie.
Andrew
it's
Garfield
kind of amazing. No, Garfield could not.
He could never do it.
Mescal is no Garfield.
No,
Mescal can go dark and can access some dark things and can literally manifest it in his entire body. Yeah. His physique changes in this performance, and it is I actually thought his performance was really good. What is a hard thing to do, which is to be the protagonist in one of these movies. He gave us a very sort of dark, tortured, interesting, angry, mean protagonist, and I liked it a lot. I thought the performance was really good.
His whole thing was the rage drove this character, and that read.
I liked it a lot.
It read
authentically. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, Mescal was really good.
I give Mescal props. I thought everyone else was solid.
Connie Nielsen.
Yeah,
shout out.
I thought Pedro unfortunately doesn't. I thought he had the least interesting character, because he has to do the guy that's he does the bad things, but he really feels bad about it. He feels bad about it.
I want to give Pedro props though.
Oh, I feel so bad. I had to kill all those people.
I'm hard on him. and he does play that character.
Didn't deserve
but
it.
He plays it with some dignity.
No, he's good.
And some,
It's just
he plays it with
sort of a
dignity
lame
and
character.
agency. It is a little tiny bit lame. I think he was actually kind of good, and I'm not his biggest fan. So I was down for Pedro in this movie.
He can do sad really well. He can do like sad tortured face really well. So that would I think that was good. But the character was just
Joseph Quinn is a good actor.
Oh, those two little twisted twin emperors.
Yeah.
Fred Heckinger and Joseph Quinn. They did great.
They did really well.
Yeah.
I hate the queer coding of like villainy always, right?
Of course, the old James Adomian bit.
In this movie, like, and in so many like Roman things, there's so much like they fuck little boys. So much of that in Gladiator II. But again, they're both really good in it.
No, there was a lot of the old school, yeah.
And then those go, the brothers, kind of weird. And then, but look, love the action. Love the rhino. Love the boats.
Dude, the rhino, the
love
boats, the
sharks.
boats. Come on.
Love the sharks.
It was great.
Love all the fights in the ring. I didn't know I gave a shit about that. I loved it. And I liked, kind of different than your take, but ultimately the same in that we both enjoyed this. Like, I thought it was really kind of charming that it really was Gladiator II. It's like, it's not like Gladiator the reboot, or it's like 100 years later.
You need to know what happened in Gladiator.
Oh yeah, and it's like no, and then for whatever reason, and we're not plot heads, but it is funny. It's like, oh, you're Russell Crowe's son, and I'm your mother, and I know you were actively fighting to destroy Rome, but now because of this new information, I need you to fight like for Rome. Like, if you start like kind of thinking about it, it kind of falls apart. But if you don't think about it, it feels smooth going down.
Don't think about it.
So fun.
Don't think about it.
Just
don't
shut
think about
the
it.
fuck up and enjoy.
Don't think about it.
Not everything is like, not. Sometimes movies want to be interrogated like that. And sometimes movies want to entertain you, and you need to be open to that. Open yourself.
No, I am
chilling the fuck out.
I do not. I refuse to get a PhD in your lore. I am here to see a movie for the next 2 hours. You have 2 hours to entertain me. If I don't get something, it's because it's not here in the movie. I shouldn't have to go access other sources of information to figure it out. And both Wicked and Gladiator were delightfully sort of. The lore was very take it or leave it. The plot was very take it or leave it. The spectacle was huge. Forefront. It was an old school weekend at the movies, baby, and that's why it's doing so well. Because there's some things that ain't broken, so you don't need to fix them.